Hello there, and welcome to another awards ceremony. It's the 8-hour challenge. I'm Bruce. Magnus it feels like the months are going quicker. I don't know if you're finding that to be the case.
Oh my God. So quick, so quick. I mean, just wrapping up this one and we're through another month.
Oh yeah, I was thinking, we recorded the spooky challenge the other day. We got ages
Yeah,
to
yeah.
record. No, turns out no.
No,
Um,
not at all.
right, this is exciting. This is perhaps the awards that's got me the most interested, excited, emotional. Even when I've seen that the quality of work's
Yeah,
coming in.
yeah,
There's so much to get through. We're going to try and give every little piece a moment in the sun, but
yes.
also mindful that we have over 30 entries to talk through and we don't want to keep people for the next 3 days.
No.
So a few things on this. You were helped in your judging by Simon, who was the winner of our Spooky Challenge, or Best in Show, to say the least. And yeah, what a
Well, I was
curse.
helping him.
You were helping him. Oh, that's how you frame it these days. The what a cursed thing to win is congratulations, you're best in show. You
Yeah,
now need to look at all of this and tell
yeah,
us
yeah,
what you,
yeah.
you prefer. So if you've discovered us in the back roads of YouTube and you're wondering what the hell is this, so we are Get Good Painting. This is one of the things we do every month in the community is we run a monthly challenge, and we community members vote on it, and everyone takes part. Well, not everyone takes part, but people take part in the month. And this month it was very simple premise: you have 8 hours to do a miniature. That is it. Start the timer after your first brushstroke is on, and then you've got 8 hours go. I did not know how this would go, and I'm fairly stunned by the results. What do you think?
Yeah. First off, I think we had 8 hour before as a voting, and everyone kind of agreed it was a bit cooked because 8 hours seems a long time, but then again, it's not very long time, especially if you want to put some effort because it's a challenge. So it was voted down before, and then I don't know what changed or whatnot, but it won, and I have to say. I think it is the best we've had in the sense that it kind of leveled the playing field a bit to the point that obviously if you are naturally a speed painter or you've commission painted before or whatnot, you have trained these things, but you, there is a difference between people being able to put 1 hour, 10 hours, and 100 hours.
Yeah.
Not everybody can just scale up, which means going 8 hours, people are playing a bit more, I guess, on the same field. And we can see that here. We had fantastic entries. We really did. And we had, I think the 8 hours means it is more approachable.
Yep.
You need to commit 8 hours, right?
Yeah. I
But
think.
you can do that within a month.
Yeah. Even if you're quite limited, I was fairly shocked by how much I could do in 8 hours, which
Yeah.
on the surface, like that's a lot of time, but in the scope of miniature painting, it's really not when we talk about,
No.
100, 200 hour paint jobs. And actually, after 8 hours, I was like, well, I'm pretty much where I want to be, bar a few like things to really work on. It's really surprising, and it almost gets you over that hump of starting a project of let's just see where I am in 8 hours, and then I'll make a call.
Yes. I think it kind of it limits the amount of overthinking. You can't really go back and forth too much and overthink maybe this is not correct or maybe this is not neat enough or you do the best you can within the 8 hours. I mean, and sure, you can work on top of that afterwards if you wanted to. I've been writing feedback on all of these, and I mean, none of the feedback is anything within the 8 hours, right? Because people did what they could within 8 hours. So all of the positive feedback is, but but the points of improvement is definitely okay. So where could you take this if you want to go over these 8 hours, or things to be mindful of, right?
Absolutely. So, well, we're about 5 minutes in, and we're on slide one of 61. So
Yes.
over the next 4 hours, we'll be getting through.
Yes.
So how this will work is I will advance. We'll look at each entry. I'll start and say one of the things I really like about it. I'll then pass over to you
Yes.
to say one of the things that maybe I've not mentioned or have
Yes.
overlooked, and then we'll move to the next one.
Yeah.
I think all I'd say before we really dive into this is just good work, everyone.
Yes.
It is stunning. It is honestly, from top
Yeah.
to bottom, the quality of work, the breadth of work, the different ideas, the different styles has just been a joy to look over. And yeah,
And even the
congratulations.
attendance, it's been amazing. And I mean, we joke about 30 entries, it's a lot and it's a ton of time and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, people put in 8 hours, and that is true for the other challenges too. So really, and I mean it, I don't mind doing the work that is this and that is the feedback and whatnot. And I mean, maybe I wouldn't do it as much if we had 100 entries. I would have to reconsider. But I mean, I do enjoy every part of it, and it's kind of our way to give back because people are giving something or sharing something with us and each other through these challenges. So thank you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let us dive
Yes.
in, and we'll start with Jess. Now, Jess is someone who has been in the background, I think, quietly improving over the months that they've been with us. And the thing that I just love about this piece is, well, number one, I just love the kind of the framing of like photography, and like I'm gonna take a picture in situ in scene. It just, I don't know, the atmospheric vibes are really nice. But the thing that really stuck out to me, I think three things in terms of doing something in an 8-hour time limit is having to do precise freehand with the checker mark hood. Not easy by any stretch of the imagination and done quite neatly. The bone color choice and kind of highlight work is really nice. And then that kind of bubbling, roiling stew, I just think kind of orangey, it adds a lot of atmosphere to the piece. Obviously it color balances really nicely or contrasts nicely with the green, but yeah, heck of a piece to start us off.
I agree. It's well, Jess is newer to improving painting, right? And she's really improving, and she's really hungry for it too, right? So taking part in these challenges is something great in the sense that you have a theme and you can kind of fit your desired way of painting or models or whatever within it, and that's what she's done twice now. I have two things that I really like with this one. The first thing, as you said, that bubbling water, I think it's almost perfectly done. It's really, really good. And the other thing is, I really like that the metal on the cauldron, like the handle, it looks like actual chipped metal. I think it's great. Those are my two standouts on this one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. Really nice work, Jess.
Yeah, great work.
Thomas submitted a Skaven boy, and I was looking at
He
this
did.
when I was compiling the PowerPoint, and I was struck by the amount of detail work here. Certainly within 8 hours,
Yeah.
I think one of the ways you can go with this 8-hour challenge is you can go the bust route, where okay, I'm going to do broad strokes. Every paint stroke I leave is going to have an impression. That's how I'm going to get through the 8 hours. Or you can be like, no, I'm going to do a miniature and do it really well because time is meaningless. And this is definitely in that latter category. Getting something this detailed done in this time is not easy. To do it with like on a base to something I'd consider would look absolutely incredible on the tabletop, let alone as a display piece, is just absolutely to be lauded. And I think the thing that really stands out to me is that wicked sword pointed forward, the highlighting along the blade. It's a really nice piece.
Yeah, I agree. We can't see it here, but I quite like both the color and the texture on the shield. Other photos were submitted, and it has kind of like a greenish tone to it. And as you said, picking out those details, the face is really good on this one. And I mean, 8 hours, as we said, it is a lot of time. But when you need to pick everything out, it's not that much time. So yeah, really well done.
Yeah, delightful work. And every time I see these Skaven miniatures, I just get a
Yeah.
little bit excited for the Rat Boys. RC Radiation Cow with this Soldier Man is what I'm saying. This thing kind of like drips Escape from LA vibes to me, which is something I really like. But again, in a similar vein, high quality, precise painting in 8 hours is probably, I think, one of the hardest elements within this challenge. And to see skin rendered so nicely on a model like this, and so clearly defined in terms of musculature, like you can tell he's buff, you can tell like each piece is well crafted, but then down to the metallic buckles on the belt, and then up to those kind of like neon 80s sunglasses shades. Top to bottom, this is a really well considered piece that, like, just from an artistic standpoint, going for a particular vibe and absolutely nailing it within 8 hours, I think is really quite special.
I remember asking for a scheme for this one when it was picked, like the model was picked out, as we talked about it, because, well, personally, I was thinking doing a red beret because I wanted to, as she did here, keep focus on the face, and I think what she did was even better. Having those blue sunglasses just punch you in the face is exactly what you want because you look straight there. So having a kind of a desaturated scheme and then ensuring this is my focal point by having those blue sunglasses is it's the way to go. I think a fantastic way of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My highlight.
And it definitely comes back to that idea of know where to put your time and invest your time, and understanding like that as well. Like doing things like camo pattern in 8 hours is just silly, but good work. Wonderful, wonderful entry, Radiation Cow. Ricky, now this piece. Ricky did the me thing of like no whips, no idea what he's cooking up, what he's working on, and then just slaps this bad boy down. I goddamn love this. This is like a basing masterclass. The fact that, you know, the basing isn't necessarily the core point. There's this beautifully painted rat boy in the center. But as someone that really is trying to like work on basing and push basing, like the fact that this drips atmosphere so well. You get this immediate sense of the feeling of where this rat is placed. Obviously, you have this really nice resin element, which just works because resin is not easy at the best of time. But then you combine it with this really grungy and mottled brickwork, and then the rusty piping, and then obviously this beautifully painted rat clutching a gorgeous gemstone right in the center. This is really quite stunning. When I first saw this, I was pretty shocked, and the more I've looked at it, the more I found stuff I enjoy. Yeah,
I think so. This one definitely should be entered into the Creator Challenge too. So a couple of things that I really like about it. I really like that it has subtle fur texture on the body itself. You can barely tell here, but you can easily see from the side view. I quite like the very saturated green gem in the hands because of focal point. But my absolute favorite thing about it is, and it's more visible from the side too, is that around the piping it has small like grass tufts. So I really like the detail of putting that there. Like a bit of moss and grass growing on the side of that tube. That's my favorite thing about it, actually.
There's definitely something to that idea of an understanding and mastery of something that maybe your eyes don't necessarily pick up consciously, but paints in the atmosphere of the piece and really lets you get a sense of what it is and where it is. Now, this is a wonderful entry. Thank you so much for submitting it, Ricky. Frostblight.
Yes.
Frostbite always seems to enter bangers, is perhaps
Yes.
like the way I'd phrase this. And also with kind of wide range in terms of we've had everything from the very colourful Samus Aran to this, which is a much more moody, almost grim piece. Of all the things that I think two things really stand out to me. One, which I wasn't expecting necessarily to still be thinking about, which is the baubles and trinkets around the waistband and the tabard and just that gold just laying low. It's in shadow, but it's just picking out particular highlights that just really sell this particular mood. Like the cross particularly is really well rendered. And then secondary, I guess, is interesting following on from Ricky's piece, but the basing work. I know... Obviously, you don't do a base this constructed and then paint it all incredibly in 8 hours. It's just not possible. But
No.
in terms of setting the piece and the atmosphere of it, it's really delicious work in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, well, the main thing for me is actually, it is so bold to pick a piece that is mostly armored and choose non-metallic for an 8-hour challenge. It kind of blows my mind. Not everyone, but most people would probably, okay, so the metallics I'm going to be using true metallics on because it is a bit quicker, right? And you can get away with some things. Nope, not on this one at all. And I agree. While, I think the base is very nice for framing exactly this, for the moodiness and for, you could render it more, but it does exactly the job you wanted to hear. So I agree with that.
Yeah, and
Wonderful piece.
I kind of keep wanting to remind people, like every time I change this slide, is like just remember 8 hours. 8 hours.
Yes.
Like, not a lot. Of
Yeah,
time.
that's why I say it's really bold.
Barker Vagrant, or as going by his Insta handle, Werner Herzog Tramp Stamp, just normal things, just a normal thing for me to have to put on a PowerPoint. Thanks, Bark. This was a piece that came together. I think one of the interesting things in being part of a community is you can see people posting their whips and their thought process and watching the piece take shape. And this was very much one that I kept coming back to because Bark was really building up this particular vibe, and like on the surface of it, you almost be like, if you saw this without paint on, you'd be like, okay, elf dude with pumpkin on his head. It's going to be a little bit like irreverent, a little bit goofy, maybe a little bit fun and whimsical. And instead, it's like, no, this is actually kind of scary and dark, and I like that. I think in terms of pushing a vibe and an atmosphere that goes so far away from what I would think from the sculpt, I really, really enjoy this. And as well, getting the beautifully worked in saturated orange in the pumpkin is pretty darn special to me.
I mean, they kind of gamed the system, right? They did Spooky Challenge twice.
That's it. They're thinking.
Or took it into this one to this month too. I agree. I agree completely. I think like the limited scheme and keeping it really, really moody is perfect for it. I really enjoy the look, the vibe it gets, and I think it's brilliant taking the orange pumpkin and using it for the eyes too. It's my favorite thing about it is those piercing orange eyes.
Yeah, you know you've done something bad. Like the pumpkin man is very cross at you because of something you've done.
Yeah. I know.
You know yourself. That's fine. Stephen Hurley, what a piece.
Yeah.
I had this bust and then broke it. I have a good track record of breaking busts. I'm very sorry. I don't know.
Yes.
Can't be trusted with busts. But this piece, just gorgeous. Skin rendered so well, but also working in cast shadows. Critically, though, with the cast shadows, and I think the shadows writ large, purple shadows, which is not something I would paint in or think to paint in, but then seeing it here, I'm like, wow, this gives such vibes. How it reflects the cloth, and then obviously the color of the eyes as a kind of homogeneous color scheme, working in like a single area of the color wheel with a little like that purple with a little bit of yellow to offset it. this to me is a complete masterclass in both color theory and like excellent bust composition and technical application in a very short time frame.
Yeah, I agree. This is like the simple scheme that just works. Taking a bit of that purple and using on the skin, on the cloth, on the hair, on the eyes, basically everywhere. I really like the look of this, and what I think is actually like the strongest point in this is putting the most effort right where it matters. There's no doubt about that. That phase is what this bust is all about. And you took the most time and put it there because of that, right? Yeah. And that's, I think these kind of time-limited challenges, doing that is probably the strongest tool to have, because you can get away with some things. And we see it on Instagram, for example, where people post things that they call work in progress, and you barely can see that it's a work in progress because most of the effort already has been put right where it matters, right?
Yeah.
So really great job on that.
Yeah, and there's almost something like this bust is a little bit misleading. The shapes on the model are not necessarily what you see painted here, and so a lot of subtle reworking has been done to really give the face the atmosphere it has. So Steve, wonderful work. Congratulations. Feral with Squig Monstrosity.
Yes.
Another one within that category of I have no time, so I'm going to do something really fiddly and small and have to make it rendered well. I don't know why some people do this themselves, but that's their prerogative. Obviously, you've got that nice red-green contrast going on between the kind of the two main aspects of the squig. He says coughing his lungs out. I think the thing that I am consistently drawn to is that mouth looks mean. That squig has been sharpening those teeth and is ready to do violence, and has already done a bit of violence, as evidenced by the the thing on its back. But even within that green skin, like how there's working up to a bit of yellow on the highlights, it's really really tight, packed work in very small space in a very limited time scale. Yeah,
my favorite thing about this is actually the uniform shadow. So this one has purple as its uniform shadow because it works with both the red and the green, and I think that's quite clever. As you have less time, so you can basically base coat everything, and then you can work on top of that. I think that's really really clever, and it works very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting seeing what Feral's working on now and how there's almost like a route from that current bust to this, just in terms of playing with colours and understanding that before almost like pushing it further. So yeah, awesome work, Sean. Really, really exciting to see. Topus, I know this model. Yes. Very well. I've painted it over length, and it is fiddly. It's a fiddly model. I thought that kind of like when I was painting, I was like, when I first looked at this is quite simple, not too. They hide a load of detail on it. It's a real fiddly piece, and so to get through that piece in that time and to ensure that each aspect is clearly and crisply rendered. You can easily see the scrolls, the bell, the chain, the wood on the back. The scythe pops beautifully, considering that's non-matte. The candles, which are now lighting parts of the piece, all the way just to that dead hand reaching out. And obviously the fly wings that are rendered differently, but still homogeneous with the model. This ain't easy to do by any stretch of the imagination. And as one of my favourite models, actually, just to paint and play with, I think this is a really well-rendered version in 8 hours. And then also, doing that with a base that's good. Bloody well done, Topus.
Yeah, I think we're back to it's impressively ambitious to even pick it.
Yes.
I would never dare. I would look at it and think, so many things going on and needing to render, and yeah, it's really impressive. I have two favorite things about this one. First is the rust on the chain. Hot damn, that is...
That's rusty.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so rusty. Exactly. It works perfectly for me, that way of making rust. The other thing is I quite like the color of the skin. This one is really, it's really hard to have any kind of focus on face, arm, stomach as the focal area, and putting color there and having it kind of fade out into the dead and withered hands is a really nice way to do it. So I'm quite impressed with that thinking. Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, really, really well put together. And I will say, just because I don't want to gloss over it, I see that little bit of red you put on that scroll, Topaz. That's a tiny scroll, and that's a nice bit of freehand. So yeah, also fine work there. Really nicely done. Carl Miguel, he says, coughing his lungs out again. Started this with just like, hey, I'm going to play with this red paint. And like, this is my new schminky stuff, I think it was. And I'm going to go ham on it. And one of the things, I'm someone that often struggles with that, like, trust the process idea. And I'm always admiring someone that could just be like, no, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. I'm just going to throw this together. To do that with, kind of, like red can be tricky to work with. And then certainly playing in like red and oranges for the highlights to really accentuate some of the volumes at play here, to go slightly into the orange for bits where the scales would be thinner or just need to be a little bit crisper. And then obviously to offset that with that eye. How like, okay, I'm looking at the model, that's where my attention is. Immediately on the eye, and then you see this beautiful framing around it. It's a really well-considered piece, very artistic, and excellently rendered, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's basically the perfect way to test out, okay, so I have some paints and I want to try out something and get a big brush and get a fairly simple model and then go nuts. I think that is the perfect way. And I agree, that green eye on the red is, basically perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, it is special. Really nice bit of work. Thank you for the submission. Casper Wendelbo, Witch Horn. Absolute classic Witch Horn. A model I've wanted to get my hands on for some time, and actually I've got, because I'm in the Brom Kickstarter, I will eventually get my hands on a Witch Horn. This is moody AF, and gives you an immediate sense of where she is. She looks vicious. There's something about the red cloak, those teeth which are so dang visible, and then this almost yellowish skin, like frilly satin skin. There's just like yellowish chins. I'm like, I'm in trouble looking at this. I know I'm in trouble. Something bad's going to happen to me. It is really well put together. And then, like, I know I keep saying this. It's going to be the repeated thing is, in 8 hours, like that cloth in 8 hours, that skin in 8 hours, that hair in 8 hours, those horns in it, like, no way. Doing one of them would have been tricky. Doing all of them together, bloody hell. This is pretty fancy.
Yeah, and the kicker on top of it is some of the VIP shots, it had green cloth. And it did not look good. And realizing halfway or whatever way in, this doesn't work. So I need to either change the cloth or the skin. And I like what I did on the skin, so I'll have to change the cloth. Well, I mean, you're on the clock, right? So it's ticking. But having to do it, well, sometimes you have to do it. And I think that's a real power move or whatever you want to call it. Knowing when to kind of call it and say, well, I can't be spending ages trying to make this work because I can already see green won't work. So, okay, you scrub it and you change it. Well done on that part. Really good.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. I know the big impacts I need to make, and therefore this isn't working, so I'm going to change it. And instead I'm going to do this wonderful, luxurious red cloth. This is really nice. Thank you, Casper. Grays, Aspira a Spira piece.
Yeah.
One of the I'd never actually seen this piece before. Great submission. So really, really surprising to see. This has a very defined style, I think.
Yes.
Almost looks like watercolors, which is not a style I frequently run into. So when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is like almost airy. It's nice to look at because of this. Like we're in the lighter hues, we're in a lot more pastels than some of the other pieces. And then seeing that reflected in the shirt and the cloth, how rendered that is, and then these beautiful hands, which are obviously quite a focal point for this piece, considering they're holding that pipe, and then offset against the green backdrop. There is a lot of detail that is hard to take in when you first look at it, because you're like, oh wow, I see the composition, and then oh wow, look at those belt buckles, look at that, look at the way the highlight goes to orange on the shirt, look at the way that the eyes are rendered. There is so much here that you could look at for quite a long period of time before like seeing the totality of the work that was done. It's very special.
Yeah, it's so I'm quite a sucker for those like the pastel colors. I think you can do some amazing things with them, and well, they did here. And I will say also, kind of like sticking to the theme, where you do the brush strokes and you lean into them, is really nice to see. And I mean, a color scheme that is basically yellow into green into teal into blue. I think it's so nice to look at. It's so harmonious. For me it really works.
Yeah. Harmonious was the word I think I was searching in vain for just then.
Yeah, I really enjoy that look.
Yeah, it's a beautiful look rendered on a beautiful model. Really done it justice. Which again, considering the timescale, is not easy. No. Michael decided, look, it's an 8-hour challenge. I'm going to do it once, and then I'm going to do it again because why?
Yeah.
I think, I mean, Michael's one of those people that I think is endlessly hard on himself, which is his prerogative, of course, but I think there is a lot of skill in what he does. The Eldar piece, which was the initial submission, I thought was pretty goddamn good in 8 hours. But then to improve upon it with this is special. Like to say, okay, I did a really good entry. I'm not happy with it. I'm going to do a bust. A complete different style. I'm going to go hard on the greens. I'm going to do stuff like little like freckle details which aren't easy to pull off in a realistic sense. Even just getting the pattern of freckles I think is quite difficult, but to do that across the skin is really nice. And then to work in a fabric, I understand looking at this what fabric that vest thing, whatever the hell we want to call it, is. That ain't easy. Offset with some really nice details, the eyes and the gold. It is a bit of a complete package, this, which considering it was a second entry, is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I think they kind of wanted to try two different things, and then the one they felt better about. So I don't think it's a bad idea at all, and I think it's pulled off really well. I have two favorite things on this one. Combining red and green. Now we're pretty close to Christmas season, right?
'Tis the season.
Yeah, and pulling that off without it going too like Christmassy is not that easy, and it worked. And the kind of implementing the red, so the red is not only for the fabric, it's on the lips, it's the eyes, it's the shadows of the skin. It's really, really clever. And the other part is the trim on that vest. I really like the striped pattern. I don't know what it is, but it's just, it's really pleasing to me. Kind of breaks the monotony of just having trim there.
Yeah.
Really well done.
Yeah, I see that, and I see fur or like the hewn row. It's really, really nicely done.
Yeah.
And yeah, good call on the red shadows. It was one of the things that my eyes picked up on, but my brain didn't, which is always interesting. Lenny's Tyrannid, which I think was like done in like 3 hours, 4. It was not.
Yeah, maybe.
It was a quick piece, and I know he kind of started it basing it on the Rich Grey tutorial, one of the rare Rich Grey Tyrannids. Please paint more Tyrannids, Rich. But as a kind of really harmonious color scheme, this contrast of the teal into this like brainy pink, and then with the carapace breaking it up, that's like doing that quickly. Again, tricky. Doing it within a time limit. Which I think like almost has become one of Lenny's strengths, is getting highly precise work done in very short periods of time, which is pretty darn impressive. But seeing how that renders into the chitin, how that looks chitinous and mean like a Tyrannid should as a Tyrannid fanboy, there is so much here to appreciate. I think it's come out beautifully. Certainly in the time frame, but I think this would look at home anywhere, pretty much. When people wouldn't say, "Oh, this must have been done quick." Not at all. It just looks really well rendered.
Yeah, and I think even getting a small base on it, it's not massive. It's not like, but it fits very nicely, and it kind of completes the model, the look. I think it's something really strong Lenny is doing, where you kind of go deep on projects that you want to take to competition, for example.
Yeah.
And you fret over everything and whatnot. And then you have something where you want to challenge yourself, and you kind of put the time that you think it deserves into it. And when you kind of reach that, well, maybe it's not perfection, right? It probably isn't. But you've tried the thing you wanted to do some texture, or you wanted to do some color, or you wanted whatever. So you've kind of gotten that, and then you round off the project and you move on. I think that's really strong in a combination.
Yeah.
So you have some quicker projects, and you have some that are a bit slower. Lovely piece. Yeah.
Ted White paints, another one that thought, I'm gonna do a tiny miniature. And I'm going to do like really hard stuff on it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think most people in the Discord are utterly insane. This is what I have now decided. Like I had thoughts before that perhaps people weren't all there, but this has really solidified it. Talk about like picking an area of the color wheel and just blowing it up. This piece is delicious, very cornate, very angry, dripping with atmosphere. It doesn't necessarily show in this photo, which is why we always put the Instagram handles on so people can go check it out on Instagram in more detail. But like also rendered with a really sick base that offsets everything else it's doing, with this blood pooling out of it. There is a lot here that I love. I think the number one thing that I would call out is the orb on the raised axe, which is at the very top of this frame. But you see this gorgeous golden on-mat with a gorgeous bounce light that perfectly reflects the base. This made me angry when I first saw it. I was like, God damn it, how are you doing that in this time, you monster? Just delicious. I love this piece.
Why would you pick a model like this for something that is timed? I mean, that is insanity. But I mean, it got done and painted, and it looks really good. Yeah, I agree. Those bounce reflections on the metals are really good, and it is the way to sell the effect of something shiny to a T.
Yeah,
perfect. Well done.
Something about Ted's style as well. I don't know. He's always like doing stuff that I'm not expecting, and it's always working.
So none of it is the same colors or the same thing, and they all of them look like this.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, this is gonna be wild. You're gonna love it. Don't worry about it.
I don't know what it is, but it's a style.
Yeah, have such a defined style as well. Hey, it's me.
Hey, it's you.
I loved this. I loved painting this. Like I had the Wraith King bust after getting inspired from Simon painting it and Colin painting it and seeing a few others, and Liam H painted it as well, which I really liked his version. And then the bust came and it required a shed load of gap filling, which I was a little bit annoyed about. But then I got to painting it, and this is Baby's first time with color mixing and chimera paints and things like that, and I learned so much and had so much fun. This like changed things up. Like I repainted the eyes. I had to redo things because they weren't working. And even in the finished piece, when I went over the timeline for the piece that's on my Instagram, I changed the eyes again because I wasn't happy with these blue eyes. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with this and painting TMM, which I'd not done in a while. It was great fun.
Yeah. I think so. My favorite thing about this is the tones in the skin. It is a bit hard to show on a photo like this because you can't really turn it and see everything. But there is a lot of like subtlety within having a bit of the blue, having that magenta look from the other direction. I think the skin is my favorite thing on it. Really well done. I really enjoy that.
Should give myself a pat on the back.
Yes.
And yeah, definitely something that I'm taking into future bus projects is I'm going to work on this for 8 hours and see where I'm at. I think that's a great way to approach it. Josh Gloomygits and his bust figure, which the thing that stood out to me when I first saw this, and I think that when I come back to it, seeing it in thumbnails and other things, is the way the fabric's been rendered.
Yes.
Fabric is not easy. Like
No.
giving a sense of the material in the paint job. Like we were just talking about this in regards to Michael's piece, but this is it on a different extreme of like you have this very satin, almost silky dress. Like getting that across in a paint job is not easy. Doing it in 8 hours continues to be not easy. Combining it with some really well rendered skin that supports the light job ain't easy. There is a lot here that's happening.
Yeah, and I mean, well, it is always with just like, I don't think I should submit this. This is not good enough. It's not quite done. It's not like, well, okay, but just did so many good things here. And not submitting would be an error. And I personally think not working it to a like completion is also an error. To the point where I actually wrote him yesterday and said, well, if you're not going to do it, that's fine, but can you send it to me then? Yeah. He might end up doing it, but it's just to say that I think this is another one of those perfect examples of, well, those limited times or whatever, it could be 2 hours or 4 hours or 8 hours or whatever, but when you set a time limit, it's almost like a checkpoint of you, and you can see, okay, I did all of this foundational work. Should I elevate it a bit, or should I kind of, okay, that I got what I got from it. I would definitely elevate on top of this one. It's so good. That dress is amazing.
Yeah, really, really tasty work. And I think like often people really show their qualities as painters, and they're like, I'm just going to throw something together and see where it gets to. And when you get to a piece like of this quality, it really speaks to the skills that you've honed and almost the style that you've developed over the years. So yeah, delicious bit of work. I'm using the same words over and over again, but I'm just overawed by all of this stuff.
Yeah.
The main man, Knight and Cantor, who was like, you know what, Gladiator's coming out, Gladiator 2. I'm going to do a movie tie-in. With this Roman general looking a lot like Russell Crowe. Knight annoys me sometimes with how fucking good Knight is. It's just, he's a silly boy. He'll do all kinds of stuff, just playing around in the background, having fun, living his best life. And I wasn't, because he was kind of busy with Monte Sansevino and other things and like getting involved in other aspects of the community, I wasn't necessarily expecting an entry from him. And then it arrived in the inbox. I was like, hot damn, you can't keep this boy away. it's the classic things that I love about Night and Cantor piece, beautifully rendered metallics, real sense of atmosphere and vibes. And then also, I think one of the things that I really like, which getting it looking this good, again, within the time frame, is how it integrates so well into the base.
Yeah.
I look at this and I'm thinking, oh, I get it. He is in a snowy, mushy environment, and to get that across within base with limited work, little bits of snow just on the cape is really, really nicely done.
Yeah, I like that the submission came, and he was like, "Yeah, because I'm giving it away tomorrow. It's for a friend."
Go throw it together and then give it away.
Yeah, he's a gem. Yeah, I think this must be a pewter model or something. I think I'm really surprised with the look he made. I think it looks stunning. The limited palette thing, it just works, and it almost always does. So yeah, well done on that. And I agree. Having the base, putting snow there, putting a bit on the boots and the cape, brilliant. It's the way to go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, something mean about this Roman general that I'm a big fan of. Yarand, with one of them banging ultramarines. We joked a little bit because he ended up submitting the photos about 1 million times because he was getting the right setup for his to show off the work, which I'm really glad he did, because there's a lot of detail work here that I think is only evident once you get it under the correct lighting. But neat and tidy edge highlight work, obviously nice, like golds with a lot of depth to them because of the washes that are being worked into it. How everything has that edge highlight in the heavy metal style is tasty. Like, heavy metal is not a quick style. It is just, it can't be like, I know because it's very kind of, it's close to my own style when what I'm trying to render. It is time consuming. And so to attempt that within an 8-hour challenge and to render it to this level is pretty spectacular. I think my favorite thing is just how that gold pops on the chest and just brings in all the sight lines and points of interest together. It is tasty.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's my favorite thing too. I think having, like, doing TMM well is, it looks really good. Bad TMM obviously looks really shoddy, but yeah, when you can get it to pop and you have a nice warm shadow to your gold, for example, it looks so good. Yeah. And because it's a time challenge, you could do something like this for a unit, for an army. I mean, you won't have it tomorrow, of course, or for the tournament in the weekend. But if you had like a passion army that you wanted to work on, and new unit came out and you wanted to add that, 8 hours is a lot still, but you can get 8 hours in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So getting a new unit in your army would, and looking like this, that's really nice.
Yeah, and just so it doesn't go unstated, getting that little white reflection on the red light on the arm. I see you, little details. That's really nice. Scrubleader and Dylan with his entry. I'm gonna get told off by the law police. The lizard folk. I don't know what the lizard folk are called anymore.
Seraphon, right?
I don't know. I just, I struggle with the lizard folk. I've never painted one. Maybe I'll get around to it. But seeing this piece when it came in, I'm like, I really like this. Like the jade, the like worked into the weaponry and how that offsets against the red like scale of the skin is one of those things. I know this isn't necessarily the place for a critique. I'd love to see this against a neutral background because the blue is quite saturated, and it kind of takes from the paint job, and I took it into Photoshop and isolated it because I was like, I really want to see how these colors pop, and they really do. So it is a really well rendered piece, and it's beautifully saturated with the jade and red elf playing. The eyes, the eye is detailed again in the time limit, not easy by any stretch of the imagination. Working in the rope detail for this thing that he's wielding, and then having it on a really nice and tidy base within the time frame. Again, not easy, but extremely well done.
Yeah, and I think, well, so this is another example of red and green where it works. And my favorite thing at least is don't just use a black to desaturate your reds. Use purple, so you get some color in there, and he did.
Yeah,
really nice work.
Paul, who I had to look. It's like, where's Paul? And on the Discord, and then I found him. I was like, okay. The Lord of Plagues. This is one of my favorite minis that Games Workshop has put out. And for obvious, Nurgle fanboy for obvious reason. But it is incredibly detailed. It is. We were talking about the Rotbringer Sorcerer before. This guy is worse. This guy has more on him, from the kind of Nurgly faceplate all the way down to the boils, and then the rust that you need to put on the blade, the skull that you see beneath the big belly, the open intestines. There is so many different textures. There's so many different colors that you need to work in, and so to get it in a homogeneous paint scheme, well rendered, with detail work, and an axe blade that looks wicked, actually evil and slightly rusted away. There is so much here to like that I think on first viewing you don't fully appreciate, because we see these photos blown up, and then you remember that, hey, the mini's that big, and it's damn good.
Yeah, I will say that that axe head is my favorite thing on it. It is such a tough thing to paint. If you want to paint it TMM, it's a bit more forgiving. Not massively so, but it is a bit more forgiving. But going for NMM on this one is terrible. It's just so hard because of all the rusted through, and you kind of if you want to show something NMM, you need some shine. And where do you put the shine? Because everything is rusted over. I've seen it painted a lot, and this is the part on this model that is the hardest, and it's really well done. It's very clever to only have that sharp outer edge be the shiny thing on it. It really works. It really works.
Yeah, I'm
really impressed.
You get the feel that this is where that sharpening stone has been honed over the blade over and over again. The rest of it doesn't matter. I'm Nurgle, but really well rendered. Nico with another one. It's the same model. I didn't realize it until, because you see.
It is.
Yeah, you see the different takes on it. Again, beautifully captured. The fact that the TMM has been so well worked in. Again, you said it before, Magnus, but it's not easy to do TMM well. Doing TMM on a timescale, doubly not easy. But the gold here is beautifully rendered. It really pops in this particular lighting scheme, and this really deep saturated blue for the dinosaur boy. They have a name. I'm very sorry. It's now Dinosaur Boy. Is really well done. It's a really nice piece.
Yeah, I think. This is the third mini that Nico ever painted, so they are obviously new to it. But my third mini was not within the lines like this.
Yes. It was not this neat. No.
No, it was definitely not. I mean, and it's 8 hours. I think that is more time than, it's almost like the more you evolve, the less time 8 hours feels like. So 8 hours can actually feel like a lot in the beginning. Yeah. And I think it's something where we kind of forget, because well, everyone is at some step of their journey, right? So for me, it's actually really exciting seeing something like this. Someone trying out colors and true metallics and stuff like that, even a bit of grass on a base, right at their kind of beginning, because it's so far away from me. I can barely remember what I painted even then. Like, what was your third mini? Well, something, I guess. So having like it feels like a privilege is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
being
absolutely.
part of seeing what others do, right, when they kind of begin the journey. Yeah. Well
Yeah,
done.
I really like the way that's framed, like just the privilege of being part of someone's journey,
Yeah.
and like understanding that, yeah, in a few years back, you look back and this will be like, wow, look at the graduation, look at the improvement, and look like
Yeah.
how embedded you get in the hobby quite quickly.
Yeah.
Cryo Cheese, another one that painted two, was like, yeah, I'm throwing two minis in this challenge, and very cruelly I made them pick in terms of only one that could be eligible for awards, but this was their submission, and the world's saddest Furbolg is a way of framing it, and yeah, very. I mean, working in emotion in your paintwork, because you have to, because you're putting in the eyes and aspects of the expression that aren't captured in the sculpt. This is a really good showing for that. That to me was the thing I first kind of picked up on, is the amount of emotion that's been painted into the eyes. The second, if I can talk correctly, the second thing I'd really like to call out is the way that the skin highlights have been pushed so high value to give it that really satin feel. It's the kind of thing that I'd probably wuss out from doing, but here has been rendered really well.
Yeah.
Gives such a
I
sense of the
agree.
lighting.
And it's a way to push and keep the focus on the face. My favorite thing is the eyes too. They are really, really well done, and it can be tricky. I mean, sometimes when you paint eyes, especially on bust size, you can't really tell what's wrong, but something doesn't look natural. So you kind of have to dissect. Okay, what are the elements of painting eyes? And this is bang on. My second favorite thing about this, and you can't see it on this photo, but there is a back photo too, and it's white highlight on the back of the ear is actually highlighted in a kind of stripy manner, so it looks like fur. That is clever. Yeah, really well done.
Yeah, really, really delicious work. Well done, Cryo Cheese, for I mean, this and the other entry, both really spectacular. Very moody and atmospheric. It's the big boy Scott, and fresh off. I mean, Scott, bit of a Space Marine pro at the best of times. I've said it to a few people now. I'm going to say it again because I think it's the best thing I can say here. There are a lot of people for whom getting to this standard is a lifetime's worth of work.
Yeah.
And even then, they will struggle to get there. To accomplish this in 8 hours is frankly silly. Silly is the word I'm going to use. It is wild. It shows good application of TMM. It shows an understanding of how to use an airbrush to maximum effect. It shows a lot of reverence for the paint scheme for the Mantis Warriors, I think is their name, and like an understanding of what really makes them pop. And then the little details like the lenses, rendering it with that inner glow as they need, and not necessarily too visible in this, but the Crux Terminatus with that really delicious bone colour on the shoulder. Oh boy, this has it all, this piece.
Yeah, it is. It really shows. It's kind of like the Formula One team where Scott knows exactly what to do. He knows all the steps of this task.
Yep.
He preps everything, primes everything. It's go time. And then, I mean, the clock is ticking, but you know you're going to make it, even so much so that he made a base for it. And yeah, I quite like that. And it's one of the things where I think Scott has done one of the most impressive things in my opinion. He came from army painting and wanted to do nice and beautiful looking armies, and he did. And then he was like, "Yeah, but I wanna elevate it a bit and not army wide, so I go to Kill Team." Now he does single models too here and there, but the idea of kind of progressing, being ever a bit better, a bit better, a bit better, going all the way from, okay, so army painting, I can't be spending, I mean, 50 hours on a single model. So I take the best of what I have here. Now I take it to a unit. I can spend more time, but I take all the good things from army painting and put it here. Now I'm done with Kill Team, and I want to do single model instead of Kill Team, and I take all the good things from the two other steps and I put it into single models. And he did exactly the same here with the time challenge. Well done.
Yeah, I really like this idea of Scott as the pit crew of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
Something to add to the Instagram handle, I think. Well done, Scott.
Yes.
Johan, Space Marine biologist, with another banging Space Marine. The thing I like most about this, so two things I will call out, because I am a huge Johan stan. He is one of my favorite painters, actually. Just quietly does bangers in the background.
Yes.
But for me, the things that really work so beautifully on this is the face. There is something about a Johan face that I'm like, mwah, you get this dramatic style that I don't see in many other places. There is a lot of emotion in there to get rendered out to this standard. And the second thing is this red that's worked into the armor in a non-met style to this standard in 8 hours. Get out of here. I couldn't do this in 2 days, like constantly, let alone 8 hours. It is wild.
I agree. It looks like nail polish.
Yes.
It's, it looks like you've, like, metallic undercoated it and then inked over or whatever. And it's not. Not at all. It's really hard to achieve. And yeah, it's definitely my standout. And I think they did some quite nice metallics too. They really know how to work metallics and get the most of them. We've seen a few metallic pieces from them, and yeah, they know how to do it. They know what buttons to kind of press to make it work.
Yeah. And you see it, I think, like in terms of it's not about, the blending or anything. It's about kind of raw highlight placement. You see that in the base. Like there's just these bullets on the floor and it's like, right, I see those. I read them as metal. That easy. Just because highlight placement is right, color selection is right. Like it shows such a degree of mastery that I think is really to be lauded. This is a really nice entry.
It is a nice entry.
Rob with bloody hell this Hulk. I mean, Rob has been punishing himself for the past few months with Stormcast. I mean, I know there are people out in the world that love Stormcast. All the more power to those people. I think they're a little bit crazy. And bless him, he's like, I'm going to do something different for this 8-hour challenge.
Yeah, really.
And yeah, just throughout this insane piece, I think I heard this a lot in the challenge of like, I'm just doing stuff with the airbrush, It's like, no, the airbrush ain't easy. Like, the airbrush ain't easy at the best of times.
No.
You have to do it neat, but like here to see it, like these volumes picked out so well with the color selection, because the colors, like getting Hulk green is not easy. It is a particular comic book style that requires working in a lot of yellows into the highs and blues into the lows. Then in combination with the base, getting the details of the teeth, this is a comic book made real. I love it. Really love it. I think it's so strong.
I agree completely. And I think it shows kind of like a mastery of knowing, okay, so I want to pick something where I can do some groundwork with an airbrush. Now that's done, I'm switching to the brush and I'm neatening up. And kind of knowing your own like strengths and limitations is really important for success in something that is timed like this. And I mean that those muscle volumes, it's not that easy.
No.
It isn't. I mean, when you get the hang of, okay, this is how you paint it. When you need to have the light fall on it, in like a horizontal way, I need to connect. When it goes vertical, I need to put the line in between the muscles. Sure, when you get that, you get that. But it's normally not something that is like intuitive. You have to train yourself to know it.
Yes.
Because otherwise you kind of go into the I guess heavy metal kind of, okay, so if it is a bump, I'll highlight it. If it is a valley, I'll shade it,
Yeah.
which is not correct.
You get a lot of weird islands when you do that.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, having mastery over that and pulling this off is, and I agree with the green. There are so many ways of doing green, so it's not just picking green and then it turns into this.
Yeah. You ain't doing this
There
with
are-
Russian green. That's for damn sure.
No, definitely not. So getting Hulk green is, not that easy. Very
Really well.
done.
Really well done. You're a rare entry from your
Yes.
who opted. He decided, right, it's an 8-hour challenge. Yellow. That's the color I'll pick for an 8-hour challenge. I'll give myself a nice easy time. So yellow, difficult the best of times. Imperial Fists are tricky to paint, I think, personally. Then also opting for a grimdark style. And pulling that off against the yellow again. We're just piling difficulty on top of difficulty here. Doing it with a base, doing it with nice metallics. Your is I'll put it in the category of painters who give themselves a needlessly hard time, because this is so well done. It shows, I think, similarly with what you're saying about Scott. Like, I do a lot of army painting. I know this. I know how to get stuff on the table, understanding what works, what matters in terms of what the eye picks out, but then also doing that with clearly defined volumes, like working in bits of the heavy metal style when it helps define parts of the miniature. There is so much here to like, and I think you should be really proud of this.
Yeah, I actually quite like the contrast of having that bang, like grim dark armor, and then and then having crisp edge highlights on other details, so they kind of stand out against it. Is really nice. It's a lovely piece, and it's something. Well, you should be proud of. Where, okay, so I finished something because and this is exactly what the challenge was about, right? We kind of overthink and get a bit stuck, and maybe I'm not good enough for this, or maybe I shouldn't start that, or getting halfway into it and abandoning it because I don't feel it anymore. And so keeping momentum and pushing through the challenges, great work.
And what's one of the only colours harder than yellow to paint? White. Just going to do a white helmet as well. Why not? Sicko mode. Beautiful blue lenses as well. Really nice work.
Yeah, they are my favorite on this.
There's the same household, the household of paint murderers, as I'm going to call it, the Yormir household. So I love Mir's style. I think the way that she's like, I'm going to do stuff so saturated, it's going to punch you in the face and you're just going to like it. Has long been one of my favorite things. But to render it this well, understanding the shadow placement, doing it within a time scale, because this is not an easy bust. This is a hard-ass bust. To get it rendered to this standard, in this time frame, is silly. It should be banned, as far as I'm concerned. I think the thing I will hem in. No, there's two things. I have to have two things. Two things I'll hem in my favorites is the color decisions for the orange/yellow, or the skin. I'm just going to call it. It's so good, and then having it work with the eyes. And having still saturated eyes that you can still easily pick out and still understand the creature, damn good. Damn good.
Yeah, I agree. So I absolutely hate the bust. I absolutely love the paint job.
Fair.
I think it's madness to pick this one for. It's weirdly shaped. It's super detailed and you have to pick it out. There isn't really, well, or you could forego it and then it would just turn into like a complete blob, right? So
Yes.
you really set yourself up for, okay, this can go horribly wrong, and it didn't. It's it's a testament to the skill. I think it's really, really clever to have the yellow orange for the focal point and then frame it with the blue. I think that is masterfully done. It is my favorite thing about it, and I mean, all that detail, like having the gradients on all of those wrinkles, and yeah, it's it takes some time. Well, 8 hours, but
Yeah, it takes a known amount of time, but this is sicko mode.
It looks like some people like crammed in 16, 20, 24 hours into those 8 hours.
That's it.
Because some people got a lot done.
Hyperbaric time chambers really coming in clutch
Yeah, maybe
for some
that's
people.
Yeah.
Snetix, this Roman bust. I think I was like, is this a known art piece? It's very Caesar-y. I don't know, but I quickly didn't matter because I was just lost in the volumes and those piercing blue eyes. Skin is tricky. Skin is really tricky. It's the kind of thing when you see a piece like this or at work, you're like, oh, skin's easy. And then you try and paint it yourself, you're like, oh no, there's so many hues to understand. There's so much shadow to get, the satin finish, knowing where to put the brush strokes. It's so difficult. And to see it rendered like this in this time frame, wild. I really, really like this.
I agree. And getting a bit of gray on the chin as opposed to having it more reddish, pinkish around the eyes and stuff, it's just great. My favorite thing, though, is the hair. The lighting on the hair is great, and hair is terrible to paint. It is hard.
Yeah.
So hard.
Yep.
There's something about things being more fluffy or like hairs and furs and smoke and flame and all of that is more ethereal, more fluffy. It's just hard. It is. And it's really well done. I really like it.
Yeah,
well done.
really, really delicious work. That is, some of the more like desaturated, realistic paint jobs, so hard to do, certainly within limited time.
Yeah.
That's what I go by people's Instagram handles, like Siwa, just normal thing to say. Who has kind of been, I think, slowly demonstrating this core mastery of Sisters of Battle. Again, like this comes to the point we were saying earlier, people that paint units and kind of do more army painting as well as display painting, understand what really sells a piece and what makes it work. And here you see how light placement, this almost like top-down narrow beam of light, starting at the sword, hitting the face, going down to certain bits of the model to really look like it's top lit. Oh, this is so good. Real clever understanding of light and light placement is pretty impressive, pretty spectacular, I think.
Yeah, and it kind of showed us in the judging too, because it's one of the pieces we actually talked the most about. Not from a point of should it get this or should it get that or whatnot, but what is like the things that are going on, because you kind of discover things as you look at it and talk more. And they're doing an army project. All of it looks like this. Every one of these sisters look like they are kind of like have that beam of holy light shone on them. So balancing the yellow with the blue highlights on the rest of it, having the like the reds, they are not the same. When they're within the yellow light, they're warm, and when they're within the blue light, they're cold. It's and the same for the arm or the hair. One of the things that really stand out for me on this one is you can clearly see that the hair is white, though it's yellow.
Yes.
You can clearly see that the eagle on the shoulder is white, though it's blue. You can clearly see that both of those things are white,
Yep.
but they're not the same colors.
Yep.
It's brilliant work, really.
Mastery of light, I think, is such an understated skill in terms of like temperature and understanding that, how it creates vibes. Very almost Renaissance, this. It's delicious work. Colin.
Oh boy, huh?
Yeah, I mean, another one I'd lump into. It's just some airbrush work, kind of talking themselves down. Nonsense, utter nonsense is what I say to that. I've seen this bust a lot. I've seen it painted by a lot of people. This is one of my favorites. Is the short way I'd say it. There is, obviously, you get it. And you're like, hey, it's Pedro. It's my boy from The Last of Us. But it's rendered with a bit more of a high contrast style than a lot of the ones I've seen, which really sell like this weathered, tired aspect to the Joel. Then in combination with like the facial details, like the wrinkles, and then how that moves into the cloth. I think it's so easy to like spend all the time on the face, certainly within a timed challenge, and then
I did.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah, because hey, people look at the face. But then to understand, okay, I'm on a time limit, and then need to do this denim texture and make it work in the bust. Those two things for me are just, he's nailed it here. Really nailed it. This is a spectacular piece.
I agree completely. Well, I know he said, I mean, airbrush did a lot of work. And, well, maybe that is true, but it is still knowing the tools that you have at hand and how to use them. I mean, sure, maybe it did, but I couldn't just swing an airbrush and then I got that.
Yeah.
I mean,
done.
That's just not how it works. So I think the whole, I just airbrushed is a bit of a fallacy, because you need to combine it with something, and you need to know what you're doing, and getting so much expression and I like that it is quite dramatic, as you said. It's the eyes are absolutely bonkers. They are so good in this. It's hard to see in this photo, but I have zoomed so much on this one. And those eyes are...
I mean, they're his eyes. They're Pedro's eyes. Like, not easy to do, because the sculpt only carries you so far at the end of the day. You have to understand the subject. I think there is the skill in the community is frankly obscene.
It is.
Jesper.
Yes.
The first entry, the first submission, like the timer went on the 8 hours, and Jess was like, I'm in there. I'm painting this Space Marine. This is one of those, so I only get limited space in the PowerPoints, as you may tell, and people submit more than one photo, so I tend to pick the main photos. But one of the things that you see when you look across the model is how well the OSL is integrated. You get the sense of this sniper at twilight, with this last bit of almost falling sun just catching them. That is not, when you see a dark photo with a singular point of light, you're like, that's just where the lamp is in this photo. Not at all. This is all in the paint job. And that subtle atmospheric work with light is so special, I think. And then to see it rendered across all the volumes, this is a really cool piece.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's again one of those, I can't be spending a ton of time because I only have those 8 hours. So I need to pick like colors that I can use instead of having to go back and forth and tweaking a bit here and whatnot. So it's a really limited palette, having that firelight or whatever, the warm light, shine on the model, and then most of it being black or grayish, a bit brownish, but you're still in that kind of limited space of colors is really good, and you can still tell the volumes apart. So yeah, great entry too.
Right. That's all the entries.
Hey.
We're an hour and 20 in. We've got through all the entries. Now we're going to do the awards. Well, so number one, everything that entered is deserving. Like 8 hours.
Yeah.
They have been special. We've now established kind of best of show as something, but then we're also now bringing in commended entries. From you and Simon in terms of just being able to separate out like such a volume of work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to obviously announce the categories, then I'm going to go through each commended entry, and then pause on the next one just in case there's anything you want to say on the commended entries, and then we'll move to the next category. And so for the 8-hour challenge, our commended entries are Werner Herzog Tramp Stamp, Barker Vagrant, Radiation Cow, Cryo Cheese, and I don't know how many's in each thing, so Cryo Cheese is the last one. So our three commended are these three. Really good work across the board. I don't know from a judging perspective, is there anything you'd call out, Magnus?
No, we kind of chose to have commended because, frankly, we have fantastic entries in every category of winners, but we still wanted to separate because we had a pool of not awarded entries, and some of them were just a bit better from the perspective of kind of choosing something and still executing it really, really well. So that's why we chose commended to have commended on this one, because we had a fairly large pool of entries.
Yeah, and all of them aping their particular styles really well. It's really nice work. So then the bronze winners are... I'm going to build this up. Like, no. People have been watching this video long enough. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Bronze winners are Sneetix, Carl Michael, Johan, Josh, Knight and Cantle, Michael, Siwa, Lenny, and Grays. And I think that's it. So, wow. Yeah. A big selection of bronzes, a bronze haul.
Yeah, these kind of, for us at least, reached the benchmark we felt was of bronzes. I mean, it's not that there are like massive gaps between each of these categories. Some of those in the upper end are really close to like the next category. This is kind of where we capped it. Really nice entries on these ones. I really, guys, you did fantastically.
Yeah, it's the thing I keep kind of going back to is this is 8 hours. These people doing it in 8 hours. These people must be stopped. They're menaces.
Yeah.
I shall push through quickly. I don't want to accidentally go too far on the slides. Silver winners. Our silver winners this month are Ted, White Paints, Steve Hurley, Art, Rob, Mia, Ricky, Paul, and those are the silver winners. So again, you see that quality step up in terms of what's being rendered here.
Yeah, this is basically the pool of entries that was kind of like just that slight step up in kind of completeness of miniatures, where they had basically perfected more upon their entry. And I must say, again, 8 hours, hot dang it. I mean, some of these entries would look the same with, any amount of time.
I think we've been too generous. I think we need a 4-hour challenge.
Maybe that's like those. I painted this in 1 minute, 1 hour, and 100 hours. Or
Yes.
Yeah.
Think of the YouTube views.
Yeah, think of the YouTube video.
So well done to all our silver winners, and
yeah.
then golds. Golds this month are Colin for the incredible Pedro bust, Scott for his Mantis Warrior, Frostblight for his. I'm not sure what this is from, but it's just wonderful, just really well rendered. Me for my dude face, and I think that's the gold. So yeah, a lot across the board in terms of these gold. There's a few that I just can't stop looking at. They're really, really nicely rendered.
Yeah, complete models with basically nothing really to. I mean, you can always critique, right? But within the scope that it was a time challenge, there's really nothing to point at. It's not like, well, yeah, but this is a bit lacking, or this is. I mean, yeah, these are fantastic models. These are models I would not be ashamed to put into an MPO or whatnot, even though they are from a time challenge.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Well done. Yeah, no, it's really, really stunning work across sport. Now, I did something I shouldn't, Magnus. I had a little chat with your judge cohort, and I heard in Best of Show there were actually 2 models that were close run things in terms of Best of Show, which I again think speaks to the quality that was on display across the range this month. But this month, the Best in Show goes to Mr. Scott Frazier.
Yeah, it does. It was not easy for us to pick it, but the reason why we picked this one specifically was, as I said, there are things here that are heavy metal quality, and they would not be improved on no matter the time. It would look the same.
Yeah.
Sure, there are some aspects, if you had infinite time, you could improve or whatnot, but there are definitely things here that look exactly the same that a box art would look, no matter your time limit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the kind of we were saying before we hit record here. Like, if I saw this on a box art, I wouldn't blink twice.
No.
I wouldn't think, the heavy metal team's lowered their qualities. No, this just looks absolutely within place. So to do that again, a style that people spend their entire painting lives trying to get close to see it rendered like this within a time frame is fairly special, and I think really thoroughly deserving of Best in Show for what has been a murderous month.
It really has, and as I said, picking between the goals, it wasn't easy, but this is the one we felt was right.
Absolutely.
Well done to Scott, and well done to everybody. It has been an honor to look at entries and judge, and it's been amazing.
It has been one of those things. I think both of us have said it to each other. It is community at its best is something like this, where loads of people are getting involved. Everyone's talking about it. There's excitement about the awards. There has been us both being really ill, just to kind of offset it and delay that gratification.
Yeah.
But no, congratulations to everyone, and that's this month's awards. If you have watched this and you're interested, we are running a bust challenge. We're busting to feel good this month in December, and I will say some of the entries within there already. It's every month the challenges get better and better and bigger and bigger, and I just think the judges are going to have a hard time. So good luck with that, Magnus. Good luck with that, Scott, who's going to be helping you out. For now, though, that's all. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for taking part in the community, and continue to get painting, get good, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.